Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, welcome home. We are starting off a tier list series. You guys have been interested in hearing my thoughts, my perspectives on really just everything Fallout, and I thought this would be a great way of doing that. Shout out to True Blue for also reinforcing this idea. I do appreciate that, my man. Fallout 3 Operation Anchorage. This is a decent DLC in my opinion. The story of it is extremely linear. It doesn't leave anything open-ended, no room for multiple choices. It is a great way to start the game off, though. You rush straight to the DLC from level 1. You can do the glitch to where you can actually extract armor and equipment from in-game, or from in the simulation. Then out in the wasteland, you have infinite durability on your weapons, on your power armor. You get some of the nicest power armor in Fallout 3 from this DLC, but I don't really consider it anything too special. Like, I probably consider this at best a B tier, maybe C tier. I'll see if that changes as we progress, but right now I'm going to call that a C tier DLC. It has some perks, some drawbacks, but it doesn't really do anything spectacular in my opinion. Probably going to lose some people here. Fallout 3 Mothership Zeta is so incredibly underwhelming in a lot of aspects. This is one of those DLCs that you just hop into and you turn your brain off. If you don't think about it, it's fun, it's wacky, you're fighting aliens in space. You get abducted, you fight aliens in space, you get ammo for alien blaster, that's awesome. And you also get other alien weapons that are incredibly powerful when you take them back to the wasteland, especially if you're spec'd into energy weapons. It introduces some really unique characters from all throughout history. I do enjoy some of what it tries to do. It's just, as far as any type of story goes, I was so uninterested in it. It was just so boring and monotonous in a lot of ways. I think, again, this is kind of gonna... I'd consider it better than Operation Anchorage. We'll put it at a B tier for now. Like, that's being kind of generous. Again, this is just if you turn your brain off and get into it, start playing. I'd say a B is fair. On the exact opposite note, Fallout 3 The Pit. This is one that I'm really stuck between S and A tier. I don't really know where to put it. I love the location. I love what they've done with it. It's so dark. It's so ominous and foreboding. It's actually got a decent storyline that no matter what you choose to do, there's a conflict of morality. You're gonna be a bad guy in someone's eyes no matter how you go about this. And I love that gray area that you'll see later on. There's some of this is straight up black and white. Some of the DLCs from these Fallout games, just straight good guy, straight bad guy. It introduces an antagonist that on surface level he seems like the obvious bad guy, but then when you learn a bit more about his backstory and his motives behind what's actually going on, you start to understand and can really feel for the guy. And that level of writing, I miss that. Actually, you know what, screw it, S tier. Fallout the Pit, in my opinion, that's S tier DLC. Another one that's probably going to be a little controversial. Fallout 3 Point Lookout. I'm putting this in A tier, not S tier. I know a lot of people absolutely love that DLC. It inspired Far Harbor. It's got an amazing, unique location. I love the inhabitants. I love how creepy backwoods, like inbred redneck feeling. I love it. I absolutely adore it. What kills me with this DLC, the linearity, and honestly just the main story. It's just two guys that have been trying to kill each other for a couple hundred years at this point, and neither one of them's been able to do it. You show up and you finally help one or the other accomplish their goal. The side locations there's some very interesting locations. There's some really interesting set pieces. The weapons are That's one thing that kind of lost me with that DLC, especially on my first playthrough. I didn't realize how tough the enemies were going to be in that area. They're complete bullet sponges. And what it introduces, the double barrel shotgun, if I'm not mistaken, the longer double barrel shotgun, the fire axe, I'm actually having a hard time remembering everything it introduced, but from what I recall, none of the weapons really put out enough damage for it to make it feel like it was worth waiting for. You know, a lot of the guns you get back on the mainland and bring here were much more suitable for the location. But all in all, Point Lookout is some damn fine DLC. I just wish it had a better story. Broken Steel. That's gotta be D tier. Broken Steel is what Fallout 3 should have been to begin with. The story should not have completely closed out. There's no reason that the story had to end right there at Project Purity with you dying. Like, what? Okay. Honest question. Why would you not send Fox in there to do it? Why not? Because of your morality? He's a super mutant that's immune to the radiation. What is your reason for not sending him in there? Like, look, aside from that, continuing to fight the Enclave, it's cool. It's cool seeing what happens with Liberty Prime right at the beginning of it. I do wish that you got to see a bit more of Liberty Prime. It, this DLC is nothing special. Like, it's what the game should have been to begin with, and like, good job for fixing it later, I guess. This is one of my favorite games of all time, with some of my favorite DLC of all time, and it just being completely biased, throw it all up in S tier. But if we're gonna really get down to the nitty gritty, Dead Money, Dead Money is A tier DLC, and I know that's gonna piss some people off. Dead Money is A tier DLC for multiple reasons. I love all the characters that are introduced in this. I like Elijah. I like Dean Domino. Veronica's ties to Christine. Dog God, whatever you want to refer to him as, very key. I love what they have done with this DLC in general. I like the dark, depressing atmosphere. I like the survival horror style gameplay in Fallout. Those of you that have been around for a while, you already know, watching my playthroughs on the side, I like going for that hardcore route. I like the nitty gritty, like the dark, depressing atmosphere that's introduced by the pit and by Dead Money are fantastic. I absolutely love it. The fog, it can be kind of a nuisance at times. Those of you that just watched my playthrough a couple days ago, you see that there's ways to get around it, and you can just rush through certain areas. You kind of have to be familiar with the map. Your first time going through Dead Money is overwhelming. When you're used to, like for me, I came from Fallout 3 and saw how the DLCs worked on that, and then hopping into Dead Money, I was completely blown away. I didn't know what was going on. The bear traps everywhere is probably the worst thing about that DLC, in my opinion. I hate the bear traps. I hate how little stim packs there are. I understand why it's like that. Shout out to TK's Mantis. I just watched his short a few days ago that inspired the latest challenge run that we did on stream, beating Dead Money and getting the hidden ending. I did not know that you could just end the game by siding with Father Elijah. You have to first talk to Veronica, have her as a companion, and talk to her all about Elijah, and be vilified by the NCR. I had never gone into Dead Money like that, so I had never seen that ending before. That was incredible all this time. But I love the story that Dead Money tries to tell as well. The thing with letting go, I love how they did it. You guys know I'm never actually letting go. I can't do it, but the first half of the DLC, while it introduces some phenomenal, memorable characters, it's the location. The villa area just feels so samey, and the three different paths that you have to take, there's really not that much to really set them apart, and it's easy to get lost, especially your first, second, third time through. It is so easy to get lost and just spend hours trying to get through to finally make it into the casino proper. I wish that it was a little bit easier to navigate. Like, not linear, I just wish that there were more landmarks, like more ways of kind of identifying where you are. All in all, though, Dead Money is a phenomenal DLC. I love the story, everything behind it. I love the location. Old World Blues, right up there. Straight to S tier, no doubt about it. The goofy, retro, futuristic, sci-fi, like the old school science fiction movies type vibe, like I usually say like the 80s inspired movies that it takes a lot of inspiration from, and the mini Deathclaw pit, the giant rad scorpion robot, Dr. Mobius, the think tank, the toaster, everything about this DLC is just so over the top. And learning about some of the inhabitants of the waste, like seeing how Cazadors came about and how the Night Stalkers were created, and learning all about Big MT. I love the location. I love what they've done with the story. I love the branching paths. Just all in all, I don't really have anything bad to say about this DLC. I guess kind of one thing that is more of New Vegas in general, sometimes it can be long-winded. When you go back for multiple playthroughs, the opening section with the think tank and having to listen to them ramble on and on and on and on, that can get repetitive. But that initial playthrough, nothing will ever top that. Like, so far, no DLC has ever topped that. This low-key got me wanting to move the pit down to A tier. But the pit holds a special place in my heart, being from my first introduction to Fallout, and then having that darker atmosphere. Yeah, you're starting to see up near the top. It's those darker, creepy atmospheres that I generally love. But the science fiction wackiness is up there paralleled with it. I love that DLC. That's definitely S tier in my opinion. I know a lot of people are probably gonna rank this higher. It's a B tier. It's not just straight up average. I love, of course, Joshua Graham. Like, come on, learning Joshua Graham's history and seeing the tribes that have taken the twisted hair, like Ulysses rambles on and on about, learning more about his backstory, seeing how bits and pieces of all these DLCs kind of come together. That's my number one thing with New Vegas is just how it all meshes together in the end. The whole aspect of Christianity playing a part in this, the religious undertones, seeing how the tribes, like seeing the differences in the tribes and the completely different location. Although it is still kind of a dry desert biome, there's also a lot of water, but that's one of my other major gripes is the map. The steep cliff sides make it kind of insufferable to navigate at times. If you get stuck going down a certain path and you meant to go a different direction, you're doing a lot of backtracking. On PC, it's not as bad. You got mods that can help you sprint. You can toggle collision if it really came down to that. But playing this as it's meant to be played, it is a lot of walking, and there's not a lot to be seen at the same time. That is my biggest gripe with Honest Hearts. The story is okay. Joshua Graham is a S tier character, but he's stuck in a slightly above average DLC. Lonesome Road is gonna go A tier. Survival, foreboding, repetition. You guys get the idea by now. That ranks up high because of my personal. This is that ranks up high because I mean this is my personal list. You should already see the reasons why this ranking high if you've paid attention to the rest of this. Ulysses is a fantastic character. The story in this is also fantastic. I love how they take you through the divide and they show you what is become of the land and the people that are there and what happens to the inhabitants over time. Learning about Courier 6 Past and how you got to where you were at and some of the decisions you made in your previous life and how you inadvertently had this effect on what Ulysses called home and all these people and how all your actions throughout the base game and throughout the other DLCs and how Ulysses can like reflect on who you are, not just as a character, but as a person. That first playthrough. If you're like me, I base a lot of my character decisions on who I am as a person, especially on my initial playthrough. And having him reflect the decisions that I made, like, really kind of put me in a. It put me in a state of disbelief and reflection. Like, I couldn't believe what the hell they had done with it. I love the writing in that. I hate that Ulysses rambles on for so long. That is my biggest gripe. It's just, there's no talking, and then he interrupts you, and then he talks for like 5 minutes or so, and then there's no talking, straight combat for like another 10, 20, 30 minutes, and then it gets to another 5, 10 minutes of him talking, and then at the end, you could easily sit there for like 20, 30 minutes straight just listening to that guy talk. That's the one thing that I gotta say negative about it. I don't feel the same connection as the pit. The location is cool, but it is extremely linear, obviously. On that same note, maybe I should move the pit down to A tier because it is a pretty linear location. And it's actually a really small location. When you step back and actually look at the map, you're not going many places. There's only like 4 main cells, I believe. And then a couple small side cells. There's not much exploration you can do in that, which is another thing that kind of brought Lonesome Road down. I mean, this is, man, screw it. This is my list. The pit is going to go down to A tier. So that's what we're looking at for now. And now we step into Fallout 4. As you can see, we have just eliminated contraptions. We've eliminated all the workshop DLC. That does not count. We're looking at Automatron, Nuka World, and Far Harbor. And straight off the bat, Far Harbor, S tier. The atmosphere, the locations, the story, how it connects with the base game, how I thought Nick Valentine was so underutilized in the base game, and he is, like, without a doubt, he is. There's so much that still should be explored and, like, seen with him, especially that whole Kellogg incident. I would have loved to have seen that expanded and him have, like, relapses where Kellogg's mind kind of takes control for a minute. But anyway, back to the subject at hand, Far Harbor. Learning more about Nick, seeing his connections with Dima. You're talking about having branching paths, all the different ways you can beat Far Harbor. I love that. I love that they actually explored the Children of Adam a bit more and gave like a complete side irrelevant faction so much of a presence. I love that. The wacky locations, there's dark and ominous locations, there's crazy fun side quests, there's really hard challenging side content. The new creatures that are added, the new weapons, and weapons that felt good to use. That's another one. That is where Far Harbor completely destroys Point Lookout. The story actually matters. It has multiple branching paths. The weapons that are included are amazing. The diversity of the new creatures is amazing. I really don't have much negative to say about it. The you know, the one thing that probably could bring Far Harbor way down is that the memory sequence, just like the base game with Kellogg, and then you got this one with the puzzle. I hate that sequence. Not because it's hard, because it doesn't fit into the game. I get what they were trying to do. I just don't like the execution of it. I don't like the memory sequence. When you can, definitely install mods to skip it. There's a couple solid ones on Nexus. I want so bad to put Nuka World up in S tier. And I'm really tempted to not even put it in A, but put it down here in B tier. The location of Nuka World is one of the best things Bethesda has done with locations before Fallout 76. Say what you want about Fallout 76, I have a lot I can say about that game, but you cannot deny that the world space and the diversity of all the biomes, sensational. Some of the best work Bethesda's ever done with the environment and the complete diversity of environments. I love what they did with Nuka World. I love how they gave each zone its own characteristics, its own the weapons, the quantum power armor, all the collectibles, all the side content that you can do. Adding a new settlement location, if you're into that type of thing, like, it kind of is unfortunate that it's way off to the side and it's another red rocket, like whatever, but it does give you another settlement. The 1 AK you can get from the pack for choosing the right dialogue options that does increase damage over time. That is probably the best weapon in Fallout 4. That is probably my favorite weapon in like Fallout 4 as far as the DLC and base game go. That's probably my #1 pick. The Raider gangs are cool. I like the little bit of diversity that they tried to add with them. I don't think there was nearly enough. The new characters can be interesting, but they're not really delved into far enough. There is replayability. There are options that you can choose if you side with the Raiders, and like, I mean, you can make one go against the other, but there's no true benefit in my eyes for making one side with, or picking two over the other. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no like major repercussions or benefits to doing any of that. Wasteland, like going back, taking out your settlements, killing all the settlers that you worked so hard to acquire. If you're going for a purely evil playthrough, like, yeah, it's additional layer to it. That's one of the most evil things that Fallout 4 really allows you to do, but again, it's just not really worthwhile in my opinion. I think a B tier is fair for Nuka World. They had some great, amazing set pieces. The level design is astounding. Some of the best work Bethesda's ever done, but it's brought so far down by the rest of the story and just everything feeling so half-baked. If Nuka World had a couple more months of development and that couple months went to the writing, I feel like that could easily be a S tier DLC. I can't place it higher than A, but I think I'm going to keep it right here at B. D tier DLC. They took the Mechanist from Fallout 3. They tried to give a story to it. They added a bunch of new robots. They added this stuff for the workshop, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's got some really cool elements to it. But as far as being a paid DLC, nah. This should have been in-game. This should have been added with an update. There's mods that could do the same type of crap, you know? Like, I'm sure the modding community could have done something even better than this. I want to love it, but I can't go higher than a C. That's the best I'm going to give it, is a C tier. And I think this is going to be my definitive list. It feels so weird putting Honest Hearts on the same level as Mothership Zeta, though. Like, that doesn't seem like that belongs there. And Nuka World. See, this is where it opens up discussion. You guys let me know, what do you think about my list? Looking at it now, I would probably go back and change stuff just by looking at it. But as we were talking through it, everything made sense in my eyes. So let's start this discussion. What do you guys think about my list? How would you change it? Where do these DLCs rank for you personally? If you made it all the way through this video, consider leaving a like. So if you haven't noticed already, share this channel, get us some additional exposure. We're trying to hit 1.5K in the next couple months, and I cannot do without you guys. I love each and every one of you. Shout out to the channel members. You guys will be up on screen. I'm gonna holler at y'all later.